Hello there, and welcome to the Speech and Language Kids podcast. Today we are talking about clinical curriculums, and I'm going to be telling you the best clinical curriculums for school-based SLPs in the year 2026. That's our current year. So I want you to think about this for a moment. If I asked you to describe your clinical curriculum right now, what would you say? Do you have a system that intentionally moves clients from where they are right now to dismissal to help them quickly get caught up and get back out of therapy? Or are we finding that our clients are just lingering in therapy for years just because they qualified once upon a time and they still have areas that they're struggling in? So I want you to kind of think through what your current system is as we discuss these different clinical curriculums today. So if clinical curriculum is a new term to you, think about this as a structured system for delivering therapy. So it includes what to target, what order we target things in, what materials, and how we know when a client is ready to move on to the next phase, whether that's generalization in the classroom or a full dismissal. So today we are going to talk about several different clinical curriculums that exist for specific domains or specific populations. And then we're going to talk about the speech and language kids clinical curriculum and how we can use this as a more complete system that covers the full caseload as opposed to kind of these piecemeal curriculums. Hey, Robin, welcome. Thanks for joining me on the live recording. Robin, if you have any questions as we go along, you can pop that into the chat there. Okay, so what I have found, I work with a lot of speech language pathologists. We have so many of you inside our curriculum hub membership subscription, whatever you want to call it. A lot of you that I work with in there, those that I work with out in the real world as well. And what I find is that it seems to be that most SLPs, most speech language pathologists, SLPAs, are kind of just cobbling things together. If they are using a clinical curriculum, maybe they have one for just one piece, such as the Hannon program, the prompt, social thinking, and we're kind of just tying these things together, grabbing the tools that we have and throwing them in, and then filling in the gaps with a whole lot of teachers pay teachers or other one-off materials that we find maybe on free websites or pay for. So it kind of ends up being this piecemeal thing. And each of these tools is great in itself, but none of them are talking to each other. So what happens is we end up having decision fatigue. We have inconsistent carryover with our kids taking that back to the classroom. We have kids who plateau. We have these long caseload times, these kids that seem to just linger in therapy. And so for our program directors who might be listening, if you're leading an entire program, I want you to think about the fact that if your quality of your therapy depends on which clinician a kid gets, then you don't have a system, you have people. And people are where it's at, right? We need the people. But if we support the people with a system, then it's going to make everyone's jobs easier and we're going to have more consistent results with our therapy across the board. So today, we're going to talk about several of these individual curriculums. I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly about each of them and what they are specifically for. And then we're going to talk about the SLK clinical curriculum and how that can fill some of those gaps and tie everything together. Okay, so let's start with the Hannon program because I feel like this is one that probably everybody has heard about in our field. This was created in 1975, so it's been around for a while, out of Montreal, and it is a parent-implemented early language program. So they have a couple different programs. They have the It Takes Two to Talk, the More Than Words, which is more kind of developed towards autism, and then Target Word, which is for late talkers. And so these programs are designed to where an SLP goes and gets Hannon certified. It's a 3-day workshop, and then they run parent programs. So they actually train the parents on how to use these strategies. So in general, the structures look like 8 group parent sessions plus 3 individual video feedback sessions per family. And there's lots of peer-reviewed studies on this. It really is a gold standard for parent coaching and the natural environment learning. So a lot of really great evidence to support it. It's very cost effective for families. So this is a really great program. Now, the downsides here is that it only covers that early language and early social development piece of it. So it doesn't address any of your articulation, motor speech, fluency, literacy, older kids, any of that. And there's no session structure for the SLP. This is how we train the parents, but it's not necessarily here's how to like run your practice. And then there's also no discharge framework. So there's no guidance on when we should move to generalization, when we should move out of therapy. So again, good sides and bad sides. Hannon is a great program if you're looking for something that is specifically targeted towards those really early language skills. Okay. So that's Hannon. Another clinical curriculum that's been developed is the DIR or floor time. This was developed by Dr. Stanley Greenspan in the 1980s, another one that's been around for a little while. It is now managed by ICDL is the company. So DIR is developmental, individual differences, and relationship-based. That's what it stands for. And this particular clinical curriculum is very child-led. It's very play-based. The clinician enters the child's world and builds circles of communication is what they call it. So this is a multidisciplinary kind of program. We can have SLPs, OT, psychologists, parents, all using these strategies together. So again, this one is another one that has lots of great evidence behind it, very effective. It is deeply neurodiversity affirming. So we're going to just meet kids exactly where they are and support them through that. It is great for social emotional development and engagement. And in particular, those children who are neurodivergent, they are able to get supported through that as well. Research supports that involved relating, communicating, and reduced caregiver stress. So lots of good research backing it up. I will say though, so for the downsides, this one is more of a philosophy or a framework versus a structured curriculum that you follow from start to finish. It can be a little hard to collect data because we are resisting that temptation to lean into discrete trial targets. And that is by design, which is great because I too love to just be in the moment and be able to engage, but it does make it a little harder to collect data and kind of see that data progression through so that you kind of have some markers of when to move on and when to discharge. There's no clear discharge criteria either. And it is designed not to have them because it is a relationship building activity as opposed to a clinical start to finish. Okay. So that also, it doesn't cover articulation, AAC, fluency, literacy, academic language, any of those things. Those are not included because again, this is all about helping kids engage and interact socially and develop those relationships through play and child-led activities. So again, really great program for that specific group, right? So that is our DIR floor time. All right. Next, clinical curriculum. We've got 3 more, and then we'll talk about ours. So the next one is prompt. And this was developed in the 1970s by Deborah Hayden, and it is now managed by the Prompt Institute. So prompt stands for Prompts for Restructuring Oral, Muscular, Phonetic Targets. It's a long one. It is a very hands-on program where you use tactile cues to physically guide speech sound production. This is SLP only. This is not a parent training program. It is specifically for speech language pathologists. There are 4 levels of the training that you can do. Starts with a 3-day hands-on intensive with a max of around 22 participants. That's, I think, how big the classes are. So this is super effective for children with motor speech disorders, right? So we're looking at things like childhood apraxia of speech, dysarthria, and severe articulation disorders. It is so effective because it is multisensory, right? So the kids can see, hear, and feel the correct production. We give lots of tactile cues, and I think it gives SLPs a structure for how do we prompt this? How do we cue them to produce these sounds, which can be a very hard thing, especially if you have a client who is really struggling with responding to those cues. And again, it's very strong evidence base for this one, specifically for motor speech disorders. The challenge here, again, is it's only for motor speech, right? So all of these clinical curriculums are designed to support a specific skill. So if this is the one skill you're looking for to fill in some gaps, absolutely, it's great, but it is not applicable to most of your caseload. It can't be taught to parents or paras because this is really more of you need the speech language pathology intensive training, the master's degree, all of the stuff we go through before you're ready to receive the prompt training. And there's no specific carryover system, so there's not a built-in piece that helps you carry this over into other settings. It can be expensive and it can be very geographically limited because you are not able to do this unless you can go physically be there for 3 days to do the hands-on training. And it's not scalable for large organizations as well. This isn't something that's going to be practice-wide. This would be something that maybe you send your very specific people that you need to have this training to go do this intensive training and then to be certified to do that type of therapy. So that is prompt. All right. Nope, just kidding. 2 more. The next one is PECS, the PECS. This program was developed in 1985 by Andy Bondy and Lori Frost. This is, I think, currently owned or held by the Delaware Autism Program, I think is who kind of has this now. Managed by Pyramid Educational Consultants. So that's who has it now. The PECS stands for the Picture Exchange Communication System. And so this is let's see. Okay. Robin and Tiffany, who are in here with me live, can you guys pop into the chat and just let me know if this is still working? Hopefully it is. But if not, we'll troubleshoot here. But this is a 6-phase protocol. So basically the way it works is a child has a picture of something that they want. They hand you the picture, you give them what they want. And so it is an exchange kind of thing. The 6 phases start with this single picture exchange and then work their way up to being able to build sentences using these pictures, and then eventually up through commenting. So that is it's got phases that you go through. This is a 2-day training workshop. It costs about $700 for professionals, but there is a lot of research supporting this program because it has been researched heavily. This is primarily used for children with autism, and in particular, it has some really good results for children who are needing help initiating the interaction, that they're not engaging yet. They're not interacting. They're not asking for things. They're not initiating interactions. This is one of the most structured phase-by-phase progressions in our field in terms of any of our therapies. It is incredibly structured. It builds initiation, not just responses from day one. So it's very much like if you want something, here's how you initiate it. It is low tech, which is great. It's got pictures as the exchange mechanisms, just pieces of paper. So it works across all settings. The communication partners, the people who are engaging in the communication, need very minimal training because you see a picture of what they want and then you say, okay, I'm going to do that. And so for some PECS users, it has been shown to develop spontaneous speech as well because they start to understand that give and take of a conversation. Now, there are some downsides to this. Like I said, it is incredibly structured, and the way you teach the child to use the program is incredibly structured. And so you have to send people to go do the training, and it takes multiple people to train with each session. So usually there's a back prompter and then there's someone engaging with the child on the front side. And so the person on the front does this, and then the back prompter helps guide the child to pick up the picture and exchange it from behind. So you really do need like a full team to implement this type of training. And if you it is very prescribed. You have to do it the way they say to do it. Otherwise, you are not doing PECS anymore. And so if you want those outcomes that the research is showing, then you need to do it the way that they prescribe it. This is one that I get a lot of questions on when families just want to use pictures to engage and to interact with a child, or an SLP does, and that is totally fine. You can use pictures even if you haven't done the PECS program. You just can't say we're doing PECS because PECS is a very specific program. All right, some downsides to this. It is only for nonverbal or minimally verbal children. That is who it is intended to support. It does not address verbal language, articulation, fluency, social skills, aside from like the basic interaction or academics. Those things are not included. And there's not a discharge pathway. We're expecting that children are going to be continuing to use this system and continue to grow and develop with it, but it's not necessarily a let's get you caught up and out of therapy, right? And then there has been some research in 2024 saying that those gains, the progress that they make, can decline without consistent team training. So there's a little bit of question on whether it's long-term results are as good as the short-term, but I personally have seen a lot of kids that had no engagement at all, not interacting at all, and after going through the PECS training, were then able to initiate and respond more effectively than they were before. So definitely has some really good research to back it up, but again, very specific on who it's for and how it is to be used. Okay, so then the last one before we talk about ours is social thinking. So this was developed in the mid-1990s by Michelle Garcia Winner, and it is owned by Think Social Publishing, and it teaches the why behind social interaction, not just teaching social skills as behaviors. We're not just training tricks, right? We're not just expecting clients to, okay, I need you to look in this person's eyes when you say this word because that's how it's done. We're talking about the why behind social interaction. So there's a lot of different aspects to this program. The programs that they provide span from ages 4 all the way up through adult. So some of those include Superflex. We've got the zones of regulation, and we've got Think Social, and there are more of those as well. But they have programs that kind of follow this same teaching model and this same core framework, which I think is called the I-LAF model. That's like an acronym. But they have this shared social thinking vocabulary that spans the programs. This is amazing for social pragmatic skills. It is hard to teach those skills. It's hard to do this without some sort of a structured program. It can often feel like when we're working on social communication that we're just kind of throwing skills out here and there and not having a systematic approach to teaching these. And so this really fills that gap. It is works well for children who are neurodivergent, such as ASD, ADHD, anxiety, our natural language development. So there's a lot of really great support for helping kids who maybe just don't pick up these social skills as naturally as other children. It is also teachable to parents and teachers and paras. It generalizes well. It really is a great program to span the ages, right? It's one of the few materials that you can use from early childhood through adulthood. I actually just used the zones of regulation with a teenager that I was working with who was struggling with some emotional regulation skills, and taught her the framework of the different zones and what zone are you in, and it almost immediately clicked with her. I was able to kind of just explain the idea, and then she was able to name those different zones in words that she liked and describe what it feels like and describe what it looks like when she's in these different zones. So it's really a great framework for being able to have a shared vocabulary, have a shared system that we can use to support that social development. Okay, some downsides. It does require some expressive and receptive language skills. It's not going to work as well for nonverbal children because they're just not, they need a little bit of language skills to be able to have these conversations and have this shared vocabulary. Not that you can't start to use some of these things before they have all of those language skills in place, but it's most effective when used with kids who already have some of that expressive and language receptive language going. It's not going to address other parts of your caseload like speech production, fluency, motor speech, academic language. And the evidence based on this actually has faced some scrutiny. So it does need some more rigorous studies to support it and some peer review. But, like most things in our field, as long as we are not seeing evidence that shows that it's a bad program or that it is doing harm, we can always use pieces of it in alignment with our own evidence-based practices as well. And it's not a complete clinical system. It doesn't have a discharge framework, but really great for working on those social communication pieces. Okay, so those are the big ones, right? Those are the big clinical curriculums that are available for speech language pathology. And like I said, a lot of our school-based SLPs are using pieces of these or this program or that program, or even just like concepts from these that they've heard in trainings and acquired from other SLPs and coworkers. But the gap here is that each of these programs only covers one domain or one population. It's not designed to organize a full caseload, and there's not built-in discharge framework. And I know I keep harping on this discharge framework, but here's the thing. We want our clients to get the skills they need and get caught up so that they can learn from everyday interactions, typical education in the classroom. We don't want them to be in therapy forever, right? And so the idea of how do we look at the big picture and see how do we move them through and out of therapy, I think is huge. And it's one of the reasons that school-based SLP is so hard, because we have these kids that have just been in therapy for years and years and they just stay without us being able to look at and say, okay, they have learned these skills that they need to have. Sure, they're still struggling in the classroom, but more speech therapy is not necessarily the answer. Sometimes we need to move to different models where we're supporting them in the classroom, okay? So if you have a typical caseload, you've got early language, you've got artic, you've got autism, fluency, you've got some social skills going on. There's no single program that covers all of them, and none of them tell you how to run the actual practice. And so this leads to these like patchwork approaches or piecemealing therapy together, and our quality becomes dependent on the specific person running those therapies, right? So introducing, in case you were wondering where this was heading, is our SLK Clinical Curriculum. So this is our comprehensive therapy program that covers all pediatric SLP, birth through the teen years, and it covers all areas. So we're covering early language, artic and phonology, and motor speech. We're covering language, fluency, social communication, functional communication, voice and resonance. All of those pieces are included in that. And this year, we are focusing our SLK clinical curriculum on the school setting. We are fully aware that school-based speech language pathology is probably the hardest place to do our job, to work on communication skills, because of how messy the system has gotten, because of how high the caseloads are, because of how intense the demands are, and how little support our SLPs are giving. So we have decided as a team here at Speech and Language Kids that if we can prove this system, this clinical curriculum in the school setting, it's going to be something that we're pressure testing it in the school setting. It's going to work for anyone. If we can get it to work there, we can get it to work anywhere. So this year is all about school-based speech language pathology and getting this clinical curriculum into the hands of school-based SLPs so that we can help you streamline, we can help you create systems, and we can help you move children through and out of therapy. So our program is built around 3 components. The first component is our communication labs. We know that you do not have time to implement some huge, large system, right? And so we have packaged our SLK curriculum into these communication labs. So you've got your speech sound lab, your language lab, your social communication lab. And each of these is powered by our curriculum, but it includes a virtual therapy table where you can run therapy activities, pre-made lessons, all right there in the platform. You have paper copies in front of the students because we love paper copies here at Speech and Language Kids. We know kids learn better on paper, but all of the things you need are built into the platform so that you can run these things with as little prep as possible and have pre-made lessons and activities ready to go. So that's the first thing, is the communication labs. The second thing is our curriculum packets for every skill. We know that your caseload is complex. You have clients all over the place. You have skill levels all over the place, and you have way too many kids on your caseload, more than likely. So our curriculum packets, we have a packet for every skill and every level of that skill. We take each skill and break it down into beginner, intermediate, and advanced so that we are covering every skill from early childhood all the way up through high school. And you can customize the plan to any client on your caseload. So we've covered it all. We've covered the gamut, and the curriculum packets then power the communication labs because you're grabbing whichever packet this lab group needs and you're putting it into place for that group. And then finally, the third component of this is we know that it is hard to figure out where to start, what to do next, which skills to teach. So we have a decision tree style guide for how to work through how to decide which skills to work on. And we have progress tracking tools that will guide your path from referral to dismissal. We just put together a client snapshot, which you'll be able to fill this out once a year, and it tells you how they're doing in every area of communication at a glance, and then allows you to have a space for you to have conversations with the team about moving through the clinical process. It's not just about always being in speech language therapy, right? Sometimes before we get to therapy, we're looking at strategies we can try in the classroom first. Sometimes after we've done some therapy, we're looking at how do we put some strategies in place in the classroom and at home to help them generalize those skills. So being able to look at the big picture instead of just what am I doing in therapy today? But we have all of those tools built for you. So all you have to do is plug and play. It's very, very simple, right? So our clinical curriculum is different because it is one system. It's going to cover every area of speech language pathology, and it's going to cover every age from birth to 18 years. I will say we do have a lot of people using our curriculum for adults as well, but I like to market it as birth to 18 because that's what I'm focused on in my creation of these programs. We also are discharge oriented. We are looking at every program and making sure there is a clear progression markers. How do we move through the beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels of these skills? And how do we decide when a child is ready to be dismissed or maybe moved on to a generalization phase, a carryover stage, looking at the different ways that we can guide the clinical pathways to make sure that we're not just lingering in therapy. It is also organizational ready. So we are a program that is easy to just onboard new staff into. So if you are a program director and you have new hires, you can easily get them onto the same system as everyone else in your program. And we're also neurodiversity affirming. So all of our packets, all of our curriculums are designed to be built for the whole child and to meet them where they are and to allow that individual difference, right? We want everyone to be their authentic selves, and we build that into our programs. So if we're talking about social skills, we're not saying this is the only way to do it. We're saying, hey, it's helpful if we can navigate disagreements. Let's talk through some ways that we can do that if we're unsure what to do, right? And then it's built by a speech language pathologist, me, built for real caseloads, not in a research lab. It's not theory. It's not, this is how kids learn. We are actually putting it in place, and we are building the pieces that you need. And then we've been running this curriculum for a while now. And inside our curriculum hub, we have a huge membership base of amazing members who are also taking it out into the field, doing their work, and then giving me feedback and asking for updates, asking for tweaks. And we have been fine-tuning this system for years now. So this system is aces, and it is ready to go for our 2026 school year to get you guys up and running with the school-based program. So I'm super excited about that. Look for more information. We'll have more information on the podcast, but if you would like to access it now, it's all ready for you. You can go over to hub.speechandlanguagekids.com. We also have information on our team pricing. So if you have a full team, you can get bulk pricing. And so we'll give you a discount for that and help you get everybody set up and onboarded. We also do trainings and workshops. So let us know what your team needs, and we'll help you get all of that situated as well. All right, my friends, that is our podcast for today. If you have any other questions on clinical curriculum, I encourage you to email me at Carrie, Carrie, @speechandlanguagekids.com, or hop on over to the hub at hub.speechandlanguagekids.com. We'll get you all set up using our clinical curriculum for your practice this school year. And then look forward for more information this spring about how we're going to be moving this into the clinics and the private practice setting. So lots of fun things always on the horizon with Speech and Language Kids. But thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Speech and Language Kids podcast. Bye for now.